Good evening and welcome to the City of Norwalk Board of Education Facilities Committee meeting. This evening is Wednesday, June 26, 2024, and the time is 6:01 p.m. I'm Kara Bakey, and I am joined by Diana Carpio and Ashley Gulias of the Norwalk Board of Education, as well as Lucina Coyoas, our Deputy Superintendent, and members of our facilities team. So this evening, we will be making a movement to approve our minutes from the May 22nd meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Seconded.
Great. We will consider those minutes approved unanimously. Next, public comments. I understand that we did not receive any public comments. I'm not sure if there's anybody on the line with us.
There's no one, Kara.
Right. Then no public comments this evening. So we will move on to the second section of our agenda, which is review and possible action. We have two separate approvals of final plans and specifications. I believe these are just procedural in order to close out some actions on Brookside and also on Tracy Magnet. Is there anything that we need to know about these actions before we move them forward?
Bill, would you add to that?
Yes, I can speak to that.
Thank you.
So this is probably the second phase, bringing it to this committee. And now what we need to do is go to the state. We were approved. Now we need to go to the state and do what is called a pre-construction review. So we have plans and specifications and a professional cost estimate for two projects. That is the removal of the underground oil storage tank at Brookside and the removal of the underground oil storage tank at Tracy. And in addition to that, at Tracy, we'll be converting the boilers from oil to gas. So this is a formality, a step that is needed. Once we hopefully get approved tonight, then it'll go to the full board, and then we'll have a form called the SCG 042, which would need to be signed by the chairperson of the board. So we kindly ask you to review these documents and provide your approval.
Great, thank you, Bill. I have reviewed the documents. I don't have any questions at this time. Diana, Ashley, do either of you have any questions? Mr. Hodel?
No,
No,
no
I'm
questions.
Okay, great. Can I get a movement to move these onto the full board?
Motion.
Seconded.
Thank you both very much. We will move those onto the full board.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, we have construction updates. So we have 4 different projects on the list here. Where would we like to begin?
I'm going to let Alan begin with. Alan, which one do you want to begin with?
Yeah, let's start the easiest one, which is Cranberry.
Okay.
Okay, may I?
Of course, please.
Oh, Dan is here for the timing is perfect. Let me just do with Cranberry very quickly. Generally speaking, there's nothing really more happening except there's miscellaneous, like some punch list items and miscellaneous items. And the building, generally speaking, are turned over to the city for almost two semesters now. And we are looking to close out this project by end of the summer. So understanding the facility committee will not be meeting anymore in the summer. So I guess in the future, we will not be putting Cranberry School project on the agenda anymore, because the only thing we'll come back for is really have the committee as well as the board to approve final accepting the project, so we can submit it to state for final closeout. But meanwhile, we are continuing working with Bill to kind of resolve some miscellaneous stuff that typical with construction. There's nothing is absolutely 100% perfect, but we went for 1 year. There's a 1-year warranty. We're going through that period, and 30 days before the end of that 1-year period, there's a whole walkthrough and stuff like that that pick out any miscellaneous anything that happened through the year. There's it's pretty. I mean, full transparency. I mean, there are many little things that happen during the year. So we work on it. We work with Bill, and Bill, there's, with brand new roof, there's still sometimes a little bit leak, like a few leaks here and there. We chase after them, we figure it out, and we fix it. So it is part of life of construction. But anyway, so we are pretty much, the project is pretty much closed. Again, I will not be putting this project on the committee agenda in the future, except when we final close out. Unless you can always ask me a question if there's any issue that comes up, email me or something. So that's basically it. Oh, one last thing is that we have, just in case this issue comes up in the near future, in the specification for Cranberry School, we specify a turf field. I mean, no, I'm sorry, sod field, sodded softball field for that project. The main reason we spec is a sodded softball field because when we're designing it, we thought there's a possibility Norwalk High School softball team may need a place to go to, and that this was our backup plan. So we include a cost for sodding the field. Typically, we seed it, but for this field, we sodded it. But the problem is once we sod in the spring, so working with Doug, athletic director in Norwalk High School, he figured a way to move the softball team so that they don't have to use this field, because I think they're using McMahon for the springtime. The benefit of that is that because artificial turf field, even in rain, like right after it rain, they can use it. But for a field like a sodded field, once the rain gets soggy and stuff, they can't be playing on it. So they prefer going to McMahon. So that's what they did. Meanwhile, we had this bid out as a sodded field, so I just left it. But just the reason I brought this up is that potentially, because there's no sprinkler system, potentially you may hear people, the public may say, well, we put a brand new fuel in, you got summertime, this summer got burned a little bit. That's going to happen. So we will come back and top dress it, whatever we do, aerate it, and we overseed it in the fall. So again, if you hear anything that, oh wow, you put brand new fuel, it's bad, it's got dried out a little bit, there's a good possibility it will happen. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Move on.
I
The
just
other
have one
Yeah.
question, Alan. So congratulations on closing out Cranberry. It's an incredible project in campus and school, and I remember seeing it before it opened up last year. I'm just curious how the first year went. If anybody has any feedback from faculty, administration, parents, teachers, anything really great or anything that we need to maybe look at, but first year's behind us with the new Cranberry School, so that's great.
Well, I can share that it's been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, it's a new school, right? So I think that the fact that they had come from the facility that they came from and also entered a new building, the building aesthetically is just beautiful.
Yes, it
So I
is.
think that also is just really breathtaking with the amount of details. There's been a lot of positive feedback, and then there's been some really good other feedback, like maybe doors on the lockers. It's been sort of like these small things that we are actually using their staff to have conversations with the South Norwalk team about some decisions that we're making for South Norwalk, because some of the the furniture options, we also do that with Jefferson. Now that you're in it for a year, maybe you would have chosen a different type of chair, or how do the teachers like their chairs? But something that's been super problematic has not been brought to our attention. It's all been smaller things, like the
Right.
flags hanging too low was one of them that we needed to move them up. So it's those types of things that can be remedied. And then other things that if they tell us that this hasn't, I just haven't used this piece, is another thing that we're looking at. What are the pieces that you've
Right.
used the most? And if we had to remove something, what would you have removed? And so that we can make better decisions for the other schools.
Right.
Jefferson is another good one that we've learned from
Mhm,
also.
mhm,
Just
mhm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Since you bring this up, I just love to talk sometimes. But I think one of the things that from all these years of working with Board of Education and school project, I think one of the things that we are missing on these projects is that after construction finish, I have to draw a line when construction and capital side and city responsibility and when we all along work with Bill's office and Bill and to get to this point kind of thing. But at the same time, at some point, a project takes at least 3 years to 5 years, right? But from design and stuff. staff changes, requirement changes, and things like that. By the time we open, some of the things we put in doesn't fit exactly what the school when they open and the new principal and everything doesn't fit exactly. But at some point, I can't keep going and continue to make changes to it. I think it's to the extent that, we're looking in the future, to the extent possible between the city, I'm not saying Board of Ed, I think between the city and the Board of Ed, there should be a little bit of money, like for Cranberry, maybe $150,000 in there, so that when we open the school, it's not like correcting things that are wrong, that wasn't built correctly. It's just a change of time, passage of time. That
Right.
I think having some money for Bill to take it over and say, geez, you know what? I think we need 2 more cameras in the building, or we need to change this and stuff like that. There's some money for him to take care of those miscellaneous program changes too. One classroom, by the time we bought the furniture, well, we want to use this room for something a little different already. So there's opportunity for him to follow up and make those changes, because I can't stay on and do these. I think I have a very strong defined line that say, I'm not doing anymore. I will take care of a few things, but I will stop. So that's something me and Bill work together to find the balance. But at some point, it's like, well, I don't have money for this kind of thing. So there's a little bit of challenge from the staff perspective. I'm not sure how we solve this, but at the same time, so I just want you aware that there's a little bit of sensitivity between, when we turn over the building, it's never that clean cut, so I just want to say that. And specifically for Cranberry, I think the drop-off area, the way the bus loop is done, I think it's been worked out really well. Separation and do, and then the number of available stopping or drop-off area, I think greatly enhanced the operation of the building. So I think that's a wonderful thing that we've done with them. But that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan.
I have since Dan is here, he can go through Norwalk High School and South Norwalk School.
Yeah, sorry, I had a difficulty connecting there for a minute. Let me share my screen and I can jump into South Norwalk and then the high school. Can you see my screen? All right. So South Norwalk Elementary School building footprint was completed and foundation work began in late May. Currently, we're about 75% complete with the foundations for the building, and we're expected to be complete with the foundations by mid-July. The site development cut and fill is ongoing. This work is primarily bringing the grades up for the new parking lot area along Meadow Street Extension. We're expected to begin underground utilities early July next week. The trades have pulled their permits for that work, so that's going according to plan. In other news, we have the city has closed on, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it's 3 of the 5 Oxford Street properties. The design for that work has been completed, sent to the construction manager, Newfield. They're currently pricing that work out. We spoke to Planning and Zoning recently, and we'll be meeting with them at the August 7th meeting to review those plans and have an amendment to the special permit approved. And I'll show you a few photos of the current site. So this was taken about mid-June, just shows everything demolished, the site footprint prepared, foundation work primarily starting from the east side of the site and working its way west. This was taken on the 17th of June, so not the most recent photo, but a good aerial overview of the building footprint. As we go down, this is a more recent photo taken yesterday showing, I believe this is the entrance to the cafeteria area. The gym would be where these inner foundation walls are being prepared. Here's an exit from one of the exit stairs, but you can see we're making our way further to the west side of the site. If we scroll down a little more, this corner is the far west corner of the building. It's formed. Those footings will be going in the next couple of days. Once the rebar is inspected, they'll be poured and the foundation walls will go in. And the foundation work as we wrap our way around this corner should be completed about mid-July. Any questions on South Norwalk Elementary School before we jump into the high school?
Yeah, I just want to add three other things. One is that with the acquisition of those residential houses, we are working very, very hard with health department in terms of relocating those tenants. We have 7 tenants in the building. I think maybe 2 of them may be gone already. We're looking to another 3 to be leaving. But it is very challenging to find new places for these folks to move to. So there's some money that's available as part of state requirement that we help them for relocation costs. So we are doing everything we can to help them. So it is ongoing, and as soon as we move the residents out of those buildings, we will begin demolition of those buildings. So at the same time, we're working with Newfield Construction to get those pricing in terms of site work and and demolition costs together. The city, as part of this year's capital budget, has approved, I think, additional $3 million to address the land acquisition as well as the development of these property on Oxford Street. So we should have sufficient money to address this. The second thing I want to talk about is that, just in case you hear, most and every piece of property is city property in Norwalk, because we're an urban area. There's always there's 2 types of soil. There's like polluted soil and contaminated soil. It's not unusual to find polluted and contaminated soil within city property. We found in Norwalk High School, we found in this site, and we find Matthews Park, we find Pona School. So it's like, you think that, places are pretty straightforward. It is, but traditionally, when people fill the area, back then it's permitted. So, but at the same time, I just want to let you know, if you hear that we do spend money on remediation on this property, certain things like polluted soil, it's based on DEP requirement, we are allowed to keep it on site, but we have to cap it. So there are different procedures that we have followed, fully compliance with all the DEP requirements. So in case you hear that we are there's polluted soil and property and stuff like that, yes, there is, and we are taking care of all of it. So that's being addressed, and again, full compliance with all the requirements. And lastly, it's I'm working with South Norwalk Electric work on this.
Alan, I'm sorry. Before you move on, just because I know that oftentimes this video gets watched and then it gets reported on, like, can you elaborate? Because I think at one time you had explained to me like what can lead to polluted soil, so that we could demystify for the public like what that actually means in terms of how soil becomes polluted.
Yeah, polluted soil could be asphalt. Traditionally, like, when we historically, when people bring fill in, sometimes there's ash in it. People used old days burn coal, so it's the ash. Like South Norwalk, all the street has ash in it because people used to burn coal in South Norwalk, and the commercial strip, like South Main Street and stuff, they would just throw the ash into the street, so that becomes a polluted soil. There's sometimes ash, sometimes wood, asphalt, sometimes it's just plant material. So it's all different type of urban field. We find when we're working on maritime aquarium, there's polluted soil on the property. So it's really, really very basic kind of soils environmental issue that everybody has to address. So it's not unusual. So again, if you hear people talking about the city property has polluted, it's not unusual at all. So, but we are funded and we manage it very, very diligently to meet all the requirements. So I know I bring up there's no issue. I just want to let you know, sometimes people see all these trucks bringing stuff out and stuff, and comment gets to social medias or whatever and talk about, oh, wow, the city property is polluted. It's again Matthews Park. You never think that we have polluted soil, right? What we do. Norwalk High School, it's pretty straightforward, but at the same time we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to address these issues. So we are fully aware, we're fully being managed.
And it's been remediated.
Yeah. Lastly, I am working with SNU right now on the solar panel, and we are looking at 2 options: a rooftop system as well as a ground mounted system on upper portion of the property where there's no access to the public. It's very challenging to develop the solar project. One of the reasons is that when we deal with Eversource has incentive money. SNU doesn't. So that drives the cost of the not to drive the cost, there's less money available to support the cost of construction of the photovoltaic panels. The other thing is that SNU's rates generation is very low. So when it's Eversource project, when we had to pay for that electricity that it generates, because the rate of SNU charges, it's very low. There's really very little bit to no financial savings. So those are things that we are looking at with SNU, and also SNU has issued RFP to solar developers. Similarly, I think periodically we will have submit solar developer to the board for approval to install solar panel for like Jefferson and Ponus and for Cranberry. So if SNU has actually issued an RFP, and they got 3 proposals, and I together with SNU are reviewing those proposals to see how we can make this work. So we haven't decided how little we're going to do on this project yet, but we are actively trying to find what's financially feasible to do. So in case you're wondering, on the solar piece, whether we're going to do the rooftop or we're doing the ground mount system, that's still yet to be determined. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
All right, if there's no other comments for South Norwalk, I'll jump into the high school. So demolition of the existing test of field complex was completed in early April. Since then, the site contractor has been busy preparing the building pad for rammed aggregate piers and the foundation work. This includes the export of material and import of structural fill as required to build up the building pad. I'll talk a little bit more about the rammed aggregate piers when I move to the photos. The building pad in Area C, and that's generally this Norwalk High School wing is Area C of the building. That building pad has been completed. They started the rammed aggregate piers about mid-June. This work has a duration of about 3 months. That's the entire building footprint. It's about 2,000 rammed aggregate piers. And other general work going on is the soil export, general excavation. Since that's only a portion of the site, they're continuing to get ahead, make space for them to continue their work, and then the foundation work will follow them across the building footprint. And we'll talk a little more in detail about those, the rammed aggregate piers, which are a little different than standard construction in a moment. But this is a little bit of an older photo, but just a aerial view, drone shot that Gilvane provided for the site. Once the site was demoed, they started to bring everything to the proper grades, and that was taken at the end of May. Rammed aggregate piers. So what they do is the soils below the existing or the previous test of field area were not suitable for the building structure. So what they do is they auger down with this. I think the depth varies, but they go approximately, say, 12 feet below the building foundations. And then they use this tool over here. It's about 18 inches wide. It's filled with stone aggregate, and that's compacted and vibrated into place so that we get proper bearing throughout the building footprint. Show that a little more. Just another look at the site. Stockpiled soil being exported. Over here you see the cut along the Narragansett field. And that's all we have for photos for the high school this month. Any questions regarding the high school?
So I have a question, and thank you, Dan, for walking us through those slides here. It's really exciting to see this work. So we know that, obviously the campus is disrupted in terms of sports fields and parking, but when the kids go back to school, in the end of August, are there any other, what should we be expecting? What are the impacts in terms of the buildings themselves for the kids when they get back in the fall? And like, where are we with that kind of planning for making sure that things are safe and not disrupted?
Well, this fall and this upcoming school year shouldn't be a whole lot different than the logistics that we had this past fall or spring when
Yeah, I was gonna say
we
spring.
spring. Yeah. So we the fence line should remain the same. Any work that needs to be done outside of the building area, say a lot of the utilities that do come up that driveway will be done over the summer. I don't think a lot will be done this summer. Most will be done next summer. But the site plan, the fence lines, everything that's been established or is continued to be established right now, shouldn't change much going into this school year.
Okay. Good to know. And it should be pretty consistent through the whole school year, like nothing dramatic, nothing's coming down or no big shifts.
I
for
think
classrooms.
this year we'll see, I mean, there will be some coordination with notifications about cranes that'll be on site for steel erection. There will be much more construction activity and things that are communicated to the school and the public, but I don't, outside of what we've established for the construction site right now, and you may know we have a King Street entrance as well as an entrance through the school parking lot that they've been utilizing the King Street entrance for trucking. They coordinate that with the Merrimack drop off and pickup. So they use that mostly during the day to avoid crossing the student body and the other people that are at school.
Okay, great. Thank you.
As we talk, there's three things I thought about. One is that when you're talking about this fall, something me and Sandra need will continue our conversation about is the access walkway sidewalks from Andrews Field to the school in terms of snow removal. We had looked at it last year to see how the resident maintain the sidewalk and stuff. So we need to think about whether we need to supplement it or not, kind of thing. So we are sensitive to it and we are aware of it. And so again, me and Sandra will sit down together and figure out what's a proper thing for us to do. The second thing is that just in case you hear, the Common Council last night approved a whole bunch of money to move around between South North School and North High School. There's no net change in cost of construction and stuff like that. It's the bonding, how much the city need to bond. South North School, originally the city actually bonded for like 80% of the construction cost because the state was going to reimburse it like 22%. But with the new reimbursable 60%, we can reduce the bonding for that school. So it's a good thing. So that's what happened last night. So again, if you read something in newspaper or whatever that says that this money that being moved around, it really doesn't change the project. It really just a financial arrangement in terms of how much the city bond. And also, me and Jim Giuliano provided the cash flow requirement for North High School because it's very challenging. Because what the city has so far approved is like $50 million, which is about 20-25% of the project. But as the project goes on, we need to upfront the state portion because as you go further into the project, we are continuing to get reimbursement. It takes every 2 to 3 months to get a reimbursement from the state. But meanwhile, as the project goes on, as we spend our money, we still have to cover the state's share, which is roughly 80%. So at some point, our money can't carry the state share. That's why we have to go out and borrow more money just to cover it. And also at the end of the project, the state is going to hold back 5%. 5% of $200 million, it's like $10 million. And then, for like 3 to 5 years. So there is some sort of short-term debt service that we have to provide. So this has all been addressed for the finance department. And that's why they went through this process yesterday to move money around and figure out what the bonding requirements are. Okay. I think that's all that's it then. Thank you. Lastly is the HVAC projects. I mean, total we have 6 projects. the schedule, and the total is 6 project, and total project cost is about $36 million. The city funded around $15 million, which is city share. So in fact, I met with Jared Schmidt yesterday to talk about the cash flow for this project and when do we need the city share and all that. Yesterday we talked about it, because he's looking to buy money for the upcoming year, but then for these projects, we're really not spending construction right now. We're starting construction in the summer next year. So we really don't need money from now to June of next year. So we had that conversation. The 6th project, the construction schedule for these, the implementation schedule for this, very, very unrealistic, I guess, in a way. It is supposed to finish by next year, I guess, right? It's December 25.
2 years. It's a 2-year grant.
It's actually 18 months. They want us to finish by June of 2025, which is unrealistic.
Yeah. There are a couple of projects that may be able to do it. One was Brookside and Marvin, because they're basically rooftop units. However, some of the other projects, especially older school with abatement, the only time we can do abatement is really in the summertime, right? So it's next summer we can do abatement, and then installation new equipment most likely would be the year after. So we are in the process of issuing RFP for engineers to design these projects, and so we looked to hire the engineer by late August, September, go for design phases. Hopefully we can get some of these projects out to bid in January, February next year. One of the timing is very critical, because the reason being is that, when you do a mechanical improvement, you have to order equipment. It takes about, I don't know, 18 weeks, 3 months to get the equipment delivered, depending on what type it is and stuff. And you have to upgrade electrical equipment and stuff. That's even longer time. So there's a lot very complex scheduling that we need to look at, because of the time available to us to do construction, generally speaking, limited to the summertime. So we are looking at it, and we are starting the process right now. So I'm not sure what else to add, but it's we have actually talked about whether we want to use maybe more than just one engineer, maybe 2 engineering firms, so that they spread the workload out a little bit. And also construction wise, when we bid it out, maybe we look for a different contractor. None of this has been decided yet, but we are just starting the process. That's
We
it.
will probably have to get to a point where we have all the projects summarized and go back to the state and request an extension.
And I don't think we'll be alone in that,
Yeah.
because
No,
yeah, so I think that their timeline was their timeline was unrealistic. So I think that we will reap the benefits of other districts also being in the same space, where they will not be able to get everything in time for us to meet the grant deadline.
Do we have any sense of how long we think we do need to get
Not
all-
until they do, not until the
until they do all
engineers
that.
actually do, for each school, they have to actually have like a unique plan per school. So like Alan said, for some of them, it may be that we will meet it
Right.
because of those rooftop
but not
units,
all set?
but not all of them. And then especially if there's an abatement that's involved, then we would have to explain to the state, like what caused the delay and why. So we don't have all those details yet, because we had to submit an RFP just to get those plans done.
All right, thank you for the heads up.
That's the HVAC.
All right,
Any questions for Alan regarding the HVAC, or for Bill or Dan?
Just
Go
for
ahead.
just for procedure, I'm sorry, I thought it was a little dry. From a procedure perspective, I think Dan tried to do this 1-page summary of the project, which he showed at the meeting. A lot of time we can't get to it ahead of time to include it into your agenda package. So do you prefer us come to a meeting explaining it and then, or I mean, should we just put it in the package and not come to the meeting at all? I think it's nice to sit down and talk about this a little bit. So because I mean, you may have questions and there's a little dynamic relationship that goes on, that understanding how things working or not working. So I think I intend, me and Dan or some of our staff will continue to come to this meeting every month. But in terms of this one pager, if we don't put it in your packet, that should be okay, right? That we just show it at the meeting. Is that acceptable to you?
I don't have a problem with that. Diana, Ashley, I don't know what your
I'm
feelings are.
good with it too.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I do agree that like this, dynamic kind of
Yeah.
presentation is good. And I think it's good for the public as we're recording it in case they want to, be checking in and see how progress is happening in the city.
Right, so what we do for the future, what we do in the agenda, all we put down, it's a school construction project update. We probably don't even need to list the school. So when we
Yeah.
come to a meeting, we'll do the one pager. So, we will have that information because I do the similar thing for the city side. So, but a lot of
I
times
do
we
though include them in the board update. When we do get that one pager, I include it as a hyperlink.
Oh,
Just
okay.
if you guys are looking for it, okay, Kara? When I'm provided, but like for instance,
Right.
this one, Alan, like you'll forward it to me, and then when there's a board update, I'll just include it. I'll hyperlink it.
Yeah, like we had the HVAC grant
Yeah.
summary, but not the other slides, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
For asking.
Thank you.
All right. So then if there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motioned.
Seconded.
Right, that is unanimous. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Have a
Good
good summer.
night.
Sure. Bye.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.